Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 60 of the Drop It podcast. This podcast is tailor-made for those of you with weight to lose, those of you that are losing weight now, and those of you that are bathing in the success of your weight loss accomplishment. Wherever you are on the spectrum, this is the podcast for you if weight has played some role in your life at some point. Hopefully not as bad as it did for mine, with years and years of losing 50 plus pounds and gaining it back for 6 or 7 consecutive years on every diet you, me, or anyone in the world has ever heard of. Keto, low carb, fasting if it fits your macros, starving yourself, drastically under-eating, MyFitnessPaling everything, which is what we're going to talk about today a little bit, calorie counting. If you have been there, done that, if you're a chronic dieter that's always restarting or constantly thinking about should be losing weight, quitting, starting again on Monday, really struggling with the sustainability piece of things, that's the lens that I really speak through. So if that's been similar to your experience, you've lost weight and gained it back, you're going to really find these episodes helpful. If it's not, and you're overweight and you haven't really tried, and it's not that big of a deal, you're probably just not going to find these podcasts to be that helpful for you. They might be a little too extreme for where you're at. You got to go have your experience first to see where the issues are, to feel the pain, to then come and implement some of this advice. So if you haven't tried losing weight, do whatever you got to do to try to lose some weight and gain that reference point. This podcast is really for the people that have already tried a lot of the bullshit and have lost some weight, saw some results, and now they're here. So if that's you, welcome. If you don't know who I am, my name is Nick Geoppo, and I am your host. Those of you that do know who I am are going to be really excited to hear I have 11 openings for coaching clients coming in February. So this episode is coming out the first Wednesday of February. In the month of February, I have 11 openings, 8 for group clients and 3 for one-on-one clients. It's been a really long time since I've had this many openings, maybe 4 or 5 months or so. So I'm really excited to be working with 11 of you here. If you'd like to work with me and you've been looking for an opportunity to do so, this is one of the best months to do it. So what we're doing is I'm working with people for 5 months. During those 5 months, you have access to our group called the Drop It Community. You have access to the Common Sense Diet System itself, which will take you 12 weeks to go through, where you are completely going to be rewiring your brain and learning and actually practicing all of the baseline habits that you need to lose weight and keep it off in a way that is not obsessive. It doesn't require you to be thinking about food and calories, again, which we're going to get into today, all the time. If you're someone that wants to work with me one-on-one and that's a good fit for both of us, I will also be a part of that journey one-on-one with you, in addition to our weekly group calls in the Drop It community. You've probably heard a bunch of the testimonials of other people on Instagram and on this podcast, so I don't need to plug one of my clients. This process actually works for the people that have lost weight and then gained it back multiple times on all of the other bullshit diets, or from coaches that were teaching you to just eat less, move more, or from coaches like the coaches that I hired when I was fat. If you're fat, you're going to relate to this so much. I could tangent on this for days. The idea that I used to pay people thousands of dollars to help me lose weight, and all that I ever actually got was a custom, and I'm air quoting for those of you that are not watching this on YouTube, a custom meal plan, which we're going to be talking about today. We're almost there. A custom meal plan combined with some calls and some texts about 3 tips to stay motivated, and I'm here if you need me. But when actually speaking to my coaches, it was always just did you eat the right amount of calories? Did you eat the meals today? If not, okay, well, let's do better next week. It's I never felt like they really understood what it is that I was going through mentally, from an emotional standpoint, from a shame standpoint, from an identity crisis standpoint, from a not feeling worthy of, from a navigating social situation standpoint, from a sustainability standpoint, from the fact that I logically know if I eat less calories, I'm going to lose weight. But why can't I eat less calories, right? And that has to do with typically the reason that led to your obesity in the first place. There's a deep emotional component to this. It has to do with our ties to food and the things in our lives that we're hiding from and using food as a drug instead of a medicine to hide from. If you don't get to the bottom of emotional eating, coping, navigating social situations, learning the mental framework to get through plateaus, all of this other shit about eat less, move more doesn't matter. None of the nutritional advice actually matters if you're not working on yourself, your spirit, and your soul, and your life mission, and your habits. I mean, that's the point that we always miss. Everything works until it doesn't. Like, yeah, I guess. But the point when it doesn't is when you realize that you never actually changed who you were as a person. You just changed the food you were putting into your mouth. You have to work on who you are as a person at the same time. That's why they say that therapists actually make better weight loss coaches than nutritionists. That's because it is more mental than it is food. But nutritionists also tend to not make the best weight loss coaches, in my experience, because they're missing the whole mental component. So the best thing you can do is work with someone that could do both of those things at the same time. I could not find that for myself from someone that had actually done it and sustained the results. So that's what I've become. And that was a 5-minute pitch and me explaining to you that this actually will change your life. So if you are actually serious about it, go ahead and click the link in the description of this podcast episode or YouTube video, and you'll fill out a form. It'll take you 3 or 4 minutes. If you qualify on the form, it will take you straight to my calendar to book a call with me directly, and I'll literally show you exactly what it is, like with a screen share that I do, and we can see if it's right for you. If it is, let's kick some ass. If for whatever reason it isn't, like you're one of the people that haven't felt all the same pain that I just explained to you, then it probably wouldn't be a good fit, and I'll do what I can to point you in the right direction of something that will be. So if that doesn't make you want to lose weight and keep it off, I don't know what it is. Here's the podcast. Episode 60 today, we're talking about calorie counting obsession and how to stop counting calories. So you're going to want to pull out a pen. Unless you're driving, you're going to want to pull out a paper. This episode is specifically for the people that have felt calorie counting obsession. The reason why this is important is because we know that we need to eat less calories to lose weight. Everybody knows that, right? That's common sense. So what we do to eat less calories is we count all of our calories, mostly obsessively, meaning we're weighing everything all the time. We're going to get a burger and then taking the half bun off of the burger because it's 114 less calories, or, every single grain of rice is weighed out and measured, and our meals are all prepped in containers that are all specifically this and that. And it just becomes kind of a chore. Like food becomes calories. The point when food becomes calories is the point when you've already lost the game when it comes to sustainability. The only people that sustainably count calories for weight loss or for performance are the people that have really, really specific reasons to eat a specific number day after day. And to be really exact, those would be your bodybuilders, your athletes, somebody that needs to be a specific weight number to wear, a Victoria's Secret model to fit into a fucking bikini and go on stage or whatever. But if you're just like an average person like me, that's like, I just want to lose weight and not be counting on my calories, because I recognize that the way I lose weight dictates how sustainable the results are after I hit the number on the scale. So if I lose weight by counting every single calorie that I eat and obsessing about it, I recognize that as soon as I stop counting all my calories, I'm probably just going to revert back to old habits because I've associated calorie counting with weight loss. So the question becomes, are you going to count calories forever? No. The actual answer is no, you're not. But it's hard to see that when you're in it because we're more into the idea of losing weight as quickly as possible than we are the sustainability of the results, which is actually the loop that you've been stuck in your whole life, that I was stuck in from 2013 to 2019 before I lost 110 pounds and decided I was done being fat as fuck and I was going to do it the right way. Here is what the right way is. If you haven't heard about the common sense diet yet, you're behind. You got to get with some of the other podcast episodes. There are 10 rules to the common sense diet, and the first one is to build go-to meals. Now, this is how you beat calorie counting obsession and you lose weight without counting calories. You have to build go-to meals. And what this means is when you're home, you're going to standardize on anywhere from 5 to 10 meals, meaning that you have 2 or 3 options for breakfast, 2 or 3 options for lunch, and 2 or 3 options for dinner. And what we're going to do is I'm going to walk you through step by step how to do this. We're going to figure out what those meals are on this episode. You're going to figure out how to make them fit your calories. You're going to figure out how to make them without counting calories. Then you're going to figure out how to navigate eating out while staying inside of your calorie limit. And then you're going to figure out how to eat celebratory foods without counting the calories or feeling guilt. So we're already 10 minutes into this episode. There's a lot to learn. Let's get it really going. Here's how to stop obsessing about calories. Here's how to lose weight without counting calories. The first thing you're going to do is open the internet and Google maintenance calorie calculator. Now, what maintenance calories means is if you laid in bed all day, didn't move, and ate that exact number of calories every day, you would not lose or gain weight. It's the calories that your body needs to stay the same weight. The fatter you are, the higher your maintenance calories. The taller you are, the higher your maintenance calories. The younger you are, the higher your maintenance calories, right? Men have higher maintenance calories than women. Let's get all these things out right now. Yes, it is the truth. When you're older, especially if you're postmenopausal, you're going to have a lower maintenance calories because your metabolism is slower. Your body doesn't burn as much naturally. That's all okay. Open up a maintenance calorie calculator. You're going to plug in your height, you're going to plug in your weight, and you're going to plug in your estimated activity level. Put down very inactive. Every single person overestimates their level of activity. For you to put active, that means you're sweating for 30 to 60 minutes per day. For you to put very active means you are an athlete playing a professional sport, right? So if you're an average Joe that goes on 20-minute walks, goes to the gym 2 to 3 days a week, and does the elliptical trainer with some small weights, put down inactive, right? We're going to underestimate here in the beginning. And you're going to get a number. Let's just, for the example of this podcast, say that it's a 1900. Write down whatever that number is, and here's what you're going to do. Multiply that number times 0.8. So take 1900 times 0.8. That's going to put us in a 20% calorie deficit. In this example, it's 1,520. That's our calorie goal for the day to lose weight. That's going to get you in the rate of losing any, 1 1/4 to 1 3/4 pounds, considering that you'll be having some movement. So your maintenance calories were actually just a little bit more than that, right? If you consistently ate that calorie limit, it's going to vary person to person. You'll lose a little more in the beginning. You'll be in that 1.5-ish pound range, which is really right where the fuck you want to be. Slower than juice cleansing, slower than Weight Watchers. Those didn't work in the past. Stop comparing this journey to the things that didn't work in the past, because here we are listening to this podcast, right? Looking for the advice that we didn't get beforehand. If your goal in this case is 1,520, instead of having a calorie goal for the day, what we're going to do is look for a calorie goal per meal. Here's the reason why. When we have a calorie goal per day and I'm air quoting, fuck up, get air quoting off track, and then we eat too many calories early in the day, we end up adopting this day is lost mentality, meaning that if my goal for the day is 1,500 calories and I eat 1,000 calories at brunch with my friends, I know I only have 500 calories left, right? And I'm saying this very sarcastically, but this was my whole life. And I'll be like, that's not enough. So, fuck it. I'm just going to overeat today and I'll start again tomorrow. And then I would end up eating 2,500 calories that day, or just not counting at all. And then that might be multiple days worth of the deficit progress just gone. Here's how you get rid of the day is lost mentality. If you're counting calories per day, you only have 7 opportunities to win per week. That's the 7 weekdays. When you look at calories per meal, you have 21 opportunities to win. 3 meals, 7 days a week. Meaning that if you overeat for breakfast, the day is not lost. You just overate that meal. You're going to return to normal programming for lunch. What that means is if my goal is 500 calories per meal, in this case, at 1,500 a day, breakfast I ate 750, that's okay. At lunch, I'm still eating 500, and at dinner, I'm still eating 500, and this day, I'm not going to be in a calorie deficit. Because what I'm actually doing is working on my relationship with food. The thing is that you actually have 2 issues. This is the piece that people don't talk about in weight loss, because most people never actually resolve this issue, even the people that keep the weight off. That's why they still count their calories, because they never figured this out. So here's all the answers. You got to work on your relationship with food. And the way to do it, hold both hands up in the air. Left hand, give it a shake and say, this is my lose weight hand. Right hand, give it a shake. Say, this is my need a healthier relationship with food hand. To address your relationship with food on a day when you overeat, it's okay that you overeat. We're not going to undereat to try to make up for it, because when you do that, you end up having more cravings, you end up being more hungry later, or you might just say, fuck it. You're undereating to make up for it, or you're saying fuck it and overeating, and then you're stuck in this cycle of always being on track or off track, or undereating or overeating again and again and again. And you're never just losing weight in a slight calorie deficit. You're either losing 2 pounds in a day or gaining 0.5 pounds in a day. That's a problem. You're never going to make it. That level of obsession is going to exist even after you hit your weight loss goal, and it's not sustainable. And that's part of why people keep quitting, right? So just return to normal programming the next meal. You have 21 opportunities to win by looking at calories per meal instead of calories per day. Your goal is not 1,500 calories a day. It's 500 calories per meal breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That also, spreading out the calories throughout the day like that. We live in a world where everybody's talking about fasting. We live in a world where everybody's one meal a day. Like, tried all that shit, right? That actually kind of created a binge eating issue for me, where I got used to eating these really massive meals and kind of fucked with my relationship with food. One of the best things you can do, forget all the science that you're hearing about your metabolism. One of the best things that you can do is eat 3 square meals, because you're not going to be hungry. You're going to be way more satiated. It's one of the best things that you can do. Give it a try if you haven't. Make yourself eat a healthy breakfast. So we're looking for 3 meals that are 500 calories each. Once you get that number, 500, right? 1,500 is my calorie goal per day, divided by 3 is 500. Now we need to figure out our protein goal. So take that 1,500 calories per day goal, and you're going to multiply it times 0.3, and then divide it by 4. So 1,500, your calorie goal, times 0.3, divided by 4, in this case, is 114 grams of protein per day. So my daily goals are 1,500 calories per day, 114 grams of protein per day. Now we're going to divide the 114 grams of protein per day divided by 3 meals as well, which is 38 grams. So my per meal goals are 500 or 520, somewhere in that range, calories per day, per meal, with 38 grams of protein per meal. Now that we have that number, and we're playing the per meal game, right? I love the topic of this podcast is how to stop obsessing about calorie counting. You can probably actually hear some of the obsession in my tonality that might be a little different than the first 59 episodes, because I'm letting myself tap into the obsessiveness of this that I felt my whole life up until 5 or 6 years ago. And so you probably relate to the energy that I'm in, the kind of like heightened state of needing to figure out calorie counting, right? You do have to figure this out in the beginning. And once you set the groundwork, you don't ever have to do it again. But this process you can do right now on this podcast episode. Now what we're going to do is we're going to build your go-to meals, meaning that instead of having to count calories all the time, you're going to build meals that you like to fit inside of that calorie goal. And then you're going to look at the meal the way that you made it after measuring it one time, and you'll know that every single time you make that meal, it's going to fit inside of your calorie goal because you measured it last time. So that's how we're going to get out of this idea of having to count calories, right? Open up Chat GPT or Google, whatever works best for you, and this is what you're going to type. Give me 10 meals that are about 500 calories and 38 grams of protein each. Here are the foods that I like, and then list out the foods that you like. Here are the foods that I don't like, and then list out the foods that you don't like. And then write, make sure that these are meals that are made of mostly whole, real, and natural foods. Put a period. And then write, I don't have much time to cook, so make sure that I can create all of these meals in less than 12 minutes. Go ahead and click on enter, and you're going to see 10 different meals pop up. You can get really specific and say, give me 3 breakfasts, 3 lunches, and 3 dinners, right? They're all going to pop up, and then say, give me instructions on how to cook them. And then write down, give me a shopping list. That's it. I mean, those are your 10 meals. If there's certain ones you don't like, say, replace meal 7 with this. If there's certain meals that you really want on there, say, I really like yogurt, make sure that there's a yogurt dish on there for breakfast, and it will build you the exact portions that fit inside, like to the fucking gram, right? You don't have to do anything on your own. It's completely automated. Chat GPT, chatgpt.com, or just Google the exact thing that I just said to you. There's your custom meal plan, right? This is rule number 1 of the Common Sense Diet. It's the first thing that I do for my clients, and I also show them how to do it after I do it for them to make sure that they're set up properly, to just make it stupidly fucking easy, right? Even my clients that I do this for, they still know how to do this on your own, because this concept of working with someone forever actually is unsustainable. My goal is not to have you feel like you need to work with me forever. It's for me to do these things for you and then show you how to do them on your own, so that's what sustainability actually is. You have to be able to be for yourself what I am for you right now as either your coach, if you're one of my clients, or just as a listener to this podcast, right? I will be making podcast episodes forever, but you don't want to be stuck listening to this fucking podcast for the rest of your life. The idea is that you lose weight and keep it off, and then you forget that you ever needed this fucking podcast. This is what this actually is, right? There's your meals. That's it. I mean, that now you have options for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. that are foods that you like. So there's no diet fatigue. You've got 2 or 3 different meals that you can create at any time, right? They're whole, real, natural foods, so you're going to be properly satiated, filled with a bunch of vitamins and minerals, lots of fruits, veggies, meats, dairy products, potatoes, rice, the things we know are good for us. Common sense. This is what the common sense diet is really all about at its core from the nutritional standpoint, right? This, of course, is not addressing any of the mental stuff. This is just the nutritional side, which is very important. All of the meals are going to fit your calories, and you are going to measure them one time, create it to the gram the way that the recipe says, and it's going to take you less than 12 minutes to do so, or whatever time you put in there, right? Use rotisserie chicken instead of cooked chicken. Use any pre-cooked meat. Use frozen veggies instead of fresh veggies. Get fruit and cut it up while you're got meat cooking or something in the microwave. Use microwave rice instead of cooking your own rice. Like, I mean, I've never spent more than 11 minutes making anything in the last 5 years unless I was cooking for a special occasion. And I keep the weight off with ease without counting any calories because I have my go-to meals in the fridge right now. This is actually what people with healthy relationships with food are doing without actually knowing it. Most people that live healthy lifestyles eat the same sort of meals all the time. It's not the same thing every day. You don't have to eat the same thing every day. Have different options. Don't plan out days in ahead of tomorrow for dinner I'm eating this. Wait and see how you're feeling. And then you have options for different meals that are just ready to rock super quick, right? You don't need this crazy plan. You just have to do a little bit of work up front so that when you want to flow into seeing how you feel, you can just pick whatever the fuck you want and keep the fridge stocked, right? So now you've got your go-to meals. Get your groceries delivered. Don't go to the grocery store. Yeah, but Nick, when I go to the grocery store, I struggle because I walk down this aisle and I want to get this. Yeah, don't go. To get your groceries delivered, most people in the United States specifically, we have a large international audience listening to this. It might be a little different. If you live in a rural area, it might be a little different. Getting your groceries delivered will, on average, cost you anywhere from $6 to $9. So how much gas does it cost you to go to the grocery store? How much more bullshit do you buy when you're at the grocery store that costs more than the money to get it delivered? And how long does it take you to go there? Get your groceries delivered. It's one of the simplest things that you can do. Set up a recurring delivery and get your weekly groceries delivered every Sunday, right? So now you've got your go-to meals. Get every single other thing out of the house. No other food in the house besides your go-to meals. If you live with other people, that's easier said than done. If you're a parent preparing for food for other people, that's easier said than done, right? Easy for you to say, Nick, because you lived alone and you were in isolation during a lot of your weight loss journey. Yeah, it's going to be a little harder for you than it might have been for me. Set boundaries with your family. Create go-to meals around foods that they like, but do it so that you know what a normal portion is for you. If one of your go-to meals is a beef stir fry, make beef stir fry twice a week for your family, right? But have your measurements that you measured one time and then you took a picture of, you know that's what a plate of 500 calories of beef stir fry looks like. So every single time you make it, you don't ever have to count the calories or wonder because you know exactly how many calories are in that dish because you took a picture of what the plate looked like with 500 calories of meat and rice and veggies or whatever the fuck else you're eating for that meal, right? Standardize on go-to meals. Doesn't mean you eat the same thing every day. It means you have 10 different options for foods. Few for breakfast, few for lunch, few for dinner. You don't need to eat so much variety that every single lunch you're eating something different. It just becomes kind of a pain in the ass. Now, what about eating out, right? So we're eating go-to meals. We solved the home issue. When you're eating out, have go-to meals when you're eating out. You don't have to build anything, but no, we're looking for the same criteria. Whole, real, natural foods mostly that fit inside of our calorie and protein goals as close as we can, right? So my family goes to Chick-fil-A every Sunday. They're closed on Sunday. My family goes to Chick-fil-A every Tuesday for dinner. It's a family tradition. Okay, what do you get when you go to Chick-fil-A? I get a Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich, a medium fry, 1 ranch, 1 barbecue, and a Diet Coke. It comes out to 765 calories. I'm just totally making this up, right? Okay. Well, we're shooting for 500 calories and a 35-ish grams of protein per day. So what we're going to do instead is get grilled nuggets with a side of fruit and I'm not familiar with the Chick-fil-A menu, right? And a barbecue sauce or whatever that might look like. Let's cut out the fries. Let's cut out the bread. Let's create a go-to meal at this place. Once you start, but Nick, I like the fried chicken and the bread. Yeah, of course you do. That's because you're eating bullshit pretty regularly right now and your calorie days are all over the place. You have no consistency. You're always either overeating or drastically undereating. When you eat close to maintenance calories or in a slight deficit to lose weight, and the foods are mostly whole, real, and natural, you'll walk into Chick-fil-A and not even have any cravings. Like very, very little. You'll have much more control over food because your body's going to be properly satiated with all the vitamins and minerals, vitamin A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, and all the other bullshit that we don't want to obsess over. We just common sense know that real food is better for us and that bread and fried chicken don't really count as those foods because a lot of the nutrition is cooked out of there. And there's a lot of quote unquote empty calories, meaning calories that make you feel not satiated after you eat them. So do the same thing for eating out. When you go to Chipotle, when I go to Chipotle, this is what I get because I know how many calories are in it. Now I don't ever have to count calories at Chipotle. Every time I go there, I get the same thing, right? If you're a big foodie and you're like, well, I always want to get different things because I'm a big foodie and, why are you a foodie? Like, why are you a big foodie? I love food, but I'm not a foodie, right? People that are foodies are people that are like, well, I want to be constantly trying different things. I want to constantly be, for lunch, I want to get a burger here. And then for dinner, I want to get my sundae. And then, after dinner, I want to do this breakfast. The next day, I like this omelet place. But I want to try. It's like if food, unless you work in the food industry or you're traveling, like there's a reason to eat the food. It's typically not a good sign that food is something that you're so into that you're obsessed over going to different places and constantly trying new things. When you properly satiate your body, a lot of that desire is going to go away, unless you're some kind of food influencer or have some fucking TV show about trying different foods across America, which we all grew up eating and is a part of what made us so fat in the first place. But that's a different podcast episode. There's really not a reason. If you're a foodie or you're constantly scrolling on Instagram or TikTok, now that it's apparently not banned anymore, or YouTube or whatever, and looking at people cooking and recipes and food, like, why? Take a breath. Let's change up our algorithm. Let's set some boundaries so that food isn't in our fucking face all the time so that we can standardize on our go-to meals that we like the taste of, that fit our calorie goals, that we can make in less than 12 minutes, that make us feel good after we eat them because they're made of real food and not bullshit. After you do all of this, continue to understand this concept. Remind yourself of common sense diet rule number 9, which is eat mom's apple pie when she makes it. What that actually means is eat celebratory foods celebratorily. So every single meal, you have your go-to meals eating at home, you have your go-to meals eating out, and then you have eating mom's apple pie, which means birthdays, Christmas party, weddings, anniversary, whatever, the celebrations, right? Not, Saturday is not a celebration, right? The bonus at work, that's a celebration. Those 3 things, go-to meals at home, go-to meals out, celebrating with fun foods. All of those are common sense diet approved. There is no other situation ever, literally ever, where you need to eat anything. Every single thing that you eat can be common sense diet approved, and that is not obsessive. That's not obsessive at all. 99% of what you eat can fit into those 3 things. There's no case where you should be mindlessly eating bullshit. It's easier said than done. If you're someone that's eating bullshit every day, then that feels like a foreign concept. If you're someone that has a healthy relationship with food, you'd go, yeah, I eat cake when there's a reason to eat cake. I eat ice cream when there's a reason to eat ice cream. But I don't just like drive out to McDonald's to get a McFlurry for no reason. Healthy people don't do that. They don't. You do that because you're not healthy. I did that my whole life. I once ordered 29 Dairy Queen Blizzards on DoorDash for 29 days in a row. In 2020, the first year after I had already lost weight, I still had a relationship with food issue. Right? That took me another year or so to work through. So that's been like a 3 to 4 year thing since I've actually healed and worked through that. And really, really question every single thing that you eat. Is this a go-to meal? Yes or no? If yes, great. That means it fits inside of your calories and protein and it fits that whole criteria. Nothing to worry about. If no, then am I eating out? Is this a go-to meal eating out? If no, it's not a go-to meal and I'm eating at home, what that comes down to is, are we celebrating something? Right? If yes, practice eating a normal portion size, meaning 1 slice of cake, 1 slice of pizza, 1 cheeseburger if you're out at a fucking party, right? If not, no, and I'm not celebrating something, then the question becomes, why am I eating this? Well, I have this craving. Yeah, why do I have the craving? Go through the 10 steps to work through a craving. And like, look, I get it. You have a craving. The idea that you're going to like pull open some sheet that Nick on the podcast referenced is not something that you're going to be doing forever, but you need to build some confidence around understanding that you do have more control over these things than what you previously thought. And that is the way to do that. So in summary, the way that you stop obsessing about calorie counting is to set yourself up for success up front with standardized meals that you like and giving yourself enough variety. If 10 doesn't feel like enough meals, have 15 go-to meals and keep the fridge stocked at all times. Make them quick, make them fit your calorie goal, have go-to meals eating out. Only eat foods outside of those go-to meals when you're celebrating something, meaning eat mindfully. There's no reason to ever eat mindlessly. Don't go to McDonald's alone. Don't go to the pizza place alone at work because you're bored walking home and, you didn't, I don't know what I'm going to eat. You know what you're going to eat because your fridge is filled with go-to meals that get delivered to your house every Sunday, right? It's about setting yourself up for success. If you do that one thing, you're going to lose 1.5 pounds every week. That's 6 pounds a month, right? Maybe a little more or a little less depending on some specific factors and how great you are at that, how easily you're able to start practicing that and how serious you are about it. And then you got maybe one celebration a month. You've got 5 or 6 major holidays, your birthday, your family's birthdays, a 4th of July block party. It's like you got like one party a month, one event a month where you eat a piece of cake, you eat 1 to 2 scoops of ice cream, you eat a piece of pizza. And that's it. You're not going to want those foods when you just start standardizing on things that make you feel better. Every single person I work with, every single client that I work with one-on-one, right? I have insight. I'm literally messaging and talking to my one-on-one clients every single day. And every single one of them goes through the exact same journey. They start off eating bullshit, right? They start working with me, Nick, I don't know. I take them through this. Within 3 days, they go, oh, I'm full. Wow, I'm really satiated. I've never had so much satiation. I don't have any cravings. This is the exact journey, right? I have no cravings. This is crazy. I don't even want that food anymore. And then after 3 or 4 days, they go, oh, I don't know. I used to, I don't know. Well, I quit every time I've ever done anything, and they go through shame starts coming in that, they're trying something else again. Is this really going to work? Self-doubt starts coming in, which is totally natural, right? That makes sense. This concept of, well, this is going to end at some point because, it always ends for me. All of these, yes, of course it makes sense you feel like that because you've quit every other time and you haven't kept the weight off. Here we are, right? If you didn't feel like that, that would be a problem. All that starts coming up and then self-sabotage kicks in. Typically in the first 1 to 2 weeks, something goes fucking really wrong. Where these foods that we're stopping eating, like pizza, they go crazy. Clients of mine will go crazy and eat 4 or 5 pieces of pizza or eat 3 scoops of ice cream because they just had to. And then they feel like absolute dog shit afterwards and they didn't even really want the pizza. It's not like I needed the pizza. It's just they felt like they should eat it, right? So they ate it. And then I walk them through pulling out their phone and taking a video of what they feel like the day after eating that. And they talk about the shame, the guilt. I didn't even really want it. I would feel so much better if I just didn't. And then the next time they have a similar desire, I instruct them to and guide them through going back and watching that video that they just recorded. They beat the craving. They learn they have control over food. They continue standardizing on meals. Within 1 month, they don't even think about the foods that used to control them. And then we go through different exercises on live calls, one-on-one, where whatever food it is for you, pizza, ice cream, or whatever, I order it and you order it and we sit here and we eat it together and we eat it mindfully and we allow it to be a celebration of the control that we have over the food and we practice eating a normal portion size. And on those days, they don't lose any weight because they're not in a calorie deficit because they're eating processed bullshit, right? But that's okay because food's here to make our life better and ice cream is here to make your life better. And to sit down with me on a Zoom call as a client of mine and eat 1 bite of ice cream, savor it, slow down, swallow, feel it go down your throat, down your chest, into your stomach. Eat that Haagen-Dazs the way it was meant to be eaten. Take a bite of it and feel the granularity of every little fucking grain of salt or of sugar and salt, I guess, in there probably too, right? Really enjoy it like it was the last bite of ice cream you're ever going to eat. And you're going to find that you're not even going to want to eat all of it because it just becomes a little bit of an overload of, wow, there's just so much going on. This is great. I don't need to finish it. I feel complete. I've received all the dopamine that this food is here to deliver. I recognize I don't need any more. You do that one fucking time. One time. It sounds crazy. It sounds crazy that you can have that kind of control over food because you don't feel that right now. But that food controlled my whole life. And it was all I thought about was food and weight loss, and I wish that I could. These are the exercises that I put myself through, and eating go-to meals is the literally, it's so funny. It's so funny because people on Instagram will DM me and be like, I can't believe you gatekeep information, meaning that I'm not telling people how to lose weight and that I'm charging them to tell them how to lose weight. Every single thing that I do is completely all this information is free. Everything that I know is yours for free. So there's no gatekeeping happening here. What I charge for is my actual time. If you want to work with me in my group that I've built, in my community that I've built, in me online, like, yes, I do charge for that service, right? Yes, it's my passion, but I need to have an equal energetic to be completely bought into your story. And I need to know that you're completely bought in too. Because if this was a volunteer service, it's so interesting. Somebody asked me this the other day. If this was some volunteer service, you probably wouldn't take it very seriously, right? So there's multiple ways of looking at that. You absolutely can do this by yourself. I did this by myself. It took me a lot of willpower to build the system that I'm walking you through right now, the common sense diet system, to then put myself through the system, to then reiterate it, to then keep the weight off for 6 years non-obsessively. You can build a similar system to yourself, or just write everything down that I'm talking about on this podcast and put yourself through some version of what it is that I'm talking about. That is absolutely possible. You can do that. If that feels hard to you and you can't, and you don't have that level of self accountability, and you want me to walk you through this and be your coach through the process, then I can do that too. And we're not going to work together forever. We're going to work together until you get to the point that you feel very confident in your ability to continue on your own. And it typically happens in the first few months or so. So if you made it to the end of the podcast episode, this was a longer one. And I hope you can feel the passion in my voice or on my face if you're watching this here on YouTube, in just how simple this process can be when you just spend 30 minutes setting it up. Like, just spend 30 minutes. You could do it. You could go back and re-listen to this and build your go-to meals while you're listening to it, or you can just literally set a 30-minute timer and do it right now. If you do that, you're going to be set up for a lifetime of having more control and a healthier relationship with food and losing weight, because you're going to be properly satiated while eating in a slight calorie deficit instead of an extreme calorie deficit. Lots of little pieces of wisdom in this podcast. Also pretty unorganized and ranty podcast too. So a bit of a different style on this one. Episode 60, ladies and gentlemen. If you made it to the end, thanks for being here. If you're not watching on YouTube, go give us a subscribe. We're 8 or 9 episodes in on YouTube right now. If you're on YouTube and you're like, what is this podcast? I've never heard this kind of information before. Yeah, that makes sense, because I hadn't ever heard it before either. But now here I am, right? You can have the same transformation too. But you can go back and listen to all of the first 59 episodes on Spotify or Apple. But unfortunately, only episode 52 and later are on YouTube. And they're the only ones that I had video for. Previously, it was just audio only. We're going to see you all next week. Abrupt ending to this episode. You absolutely have what it takes to lose weight. You absolutely have what it takes to keep the weight off forever. Say it again and again and again. I didn't think that I did. Sometimes I believed that I could. And when I believed it, I pulled my phone out and I said it. And then I would just play it on repeat for fucking hours every morning and every night. That's how you make yourself actually believe something, because it is actually true. See y'all next week.